Making your first film is always special. If you get an idea where you feel that this can be explored, and that's what happened with this. Just go into your room and you are writing it. Uh, Here you have a bigger team.
Yes.
Here you have a platform. A lot of people were getting me shows which were foreign shows, which was, I don't feel like that. I am completely, I want to put it out there that as a filmmaker, it is nothing to do with Arjun. A prime of it has to be the story, the narrative form, and the emotion of those story told. Hi, this is Raj Kumar Gupta. You are watching me on IWMBuzz.
Hi everyone, this is Kunal Kothari. You're watching me on IWMBuzz, and today with me is a storyteller which managed to come in, change the way stories are being told, and is here sitting at the top of it. This is, of course, I'm talking about Raj Kumar Gupta. Hi, sir. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the love.
Fantastic, sir. Sir, because मैं इसको पूरी तरह से मानता हूँ because I was one of those people who started cheering for Aamir and No One Killed Jessica as a मेरी फिल्म है.
Yeah, a lot of people like you tell me that
Yes.
that they were champion of these two films for sure, and I can perfectly understand because the way those films, the number, the way people were coming in and watching it and appreciating, I can truly believe that whatever you said, that there were so many people who were
Correct.
recommending this film,
Yes,
championing
yes.
these two films.
Correct. And sir, वो इसके लिए ना because Aamir like it broke all the rules of filmmaking in the best way possible. क्योंकि तब जैसे आप आप बता चुके हैं कि इस तरह की फिल्में नहीं बनती थी and it was probably the most difficult pitch and still it turned out to be the way it was. But what I want to ask you is that there was a certain level of sophistication and sleek, treatment to both these films. I'm saying, जो लोग सोचते होंगे कि ये urban audience ज़्यादा देखेगी, but that was not the case. It penetrated throughout. What do you think worked so much? Like, was it the sheer fact that it was so innovative कि यार बस ऐसा था कि कुछ नया आया तो बस देख लिया लोगों ने?
I think it will be very difficult for me to say what was from the point of view whether it was sophistication in that, but probably I felt that maybe the way it was treated, maybe the shot taking, maybe the way it was presented in a narrative form, maybe that. But that's a technical side of it. What appeals to the audience is the story,
of course,
the emotion of those stories, as well as probably they thought those stories were told in a narrative form that was probably that they connected to. So I would believe that it was combination of everything, but of course the prime of it has to be the story, the narrative form, and the emotion of those story told.
Right. True. And
and probably that kind of thing was not coming in then.
Exactly.
So suddenly they thought that it was very different.
Yeah, because हम बात करते रहते कुछ नया, but you actually managed to pull that off, and then probably that was the appeal for it. And what I think for me also, because that time I was like a kid. We are talking 16 years ago, 14 years ago, right? So I was much younger, और मेरे जैसे बहुत सारे लोग थे तभी. तो हमारे लिए वो filmmaking इतना हम सोच समझ के नहीं जाते. You are there and you get entertained and you take away.
Yes.
For me, what struck to my younger person, and I think a lot of them out there, was the music and the background score, which obviously the fantastic Amit Trivedi was responsible for. Again, something just breaking all the rules, right? And you've collaborated with him on all your things. I think Pill being the only exception, right? How has that association been so far?
I think it's Amit is a darling. I love him, and the great thing about Amit is he always thinks from a filmmaker point of view. So if you look at he doesn't do songs as from a song point of view. He does a score.
Yes.
So that's why you feel it when you hear an Aamir. Even if you hear music of Aamir, that Hara song or Fas Gaya or Har Ahem song,
Absolutely.
it is taking the narrative forward, or even if it doesn't take forward, at least it is giving you in that moment, what the character is trying to feel, what the story is trying to tell you. So with him, he he does a score, so the music or the songs also become part of
Yes.
the score.
Correct.
And he reads it very well. He, in his mind, I think probably, like, as a writer, if I'm writing screenplay to be short, he's reading the screenplay, and then from a reverse point of view, he is writing his score
Right.
to that screenplay.
Right.
And that's how my association with him has been in on all my films, and he has always given me uplifted,
Yeah.
my content, my
Correct.
whatever narrative form that I have wanted to weave in, he has always uplifted it. So that's what is special about him. He's a special talent.
Absolutely, I agree. First Gaya from Aamir from me, and Dilli and Etbar from No One Killed
Yeah.
Jessica are my all-time favorites. Just putting it out there, not that you care. And so, what another factor has been that you've always written and directed all your stuff, right? How important is it is for you to write your own, write anything that you're directing, or you believe कि ठीक है, I can surrender to someone else's vision as a screenplay and still pull it off as a director?
I think I prefer writing and directing, although I've done 5 films. Ghanchakkar has been co-written with, I have co-written with Parvez Sheikh, and Raid first part has been written by Ritesh Shah. As a writer, of course, a lot of times we come in from that year, but apart from that, all other films I have written. The thing is that for me, it is important that because I never go from the point of view of that I think of a story. I go from a point of view of a subject should appeal me, and then I go writing my first scene, and that's how I get into a film. So for me, it becomes very important that how I enter the film, what's the story, and how I enter that film. That only comes from me when I'm into that, when I'm writing. So for me, it has been very important. Probably it helps me in getting the story. Probably it helps me in understanding the character better. But when I am a co-writer, or when I have not written, I also take it as a challenge. Then I see how good a director I am with somebody else's material.
Absolutely.
Of course, you are throughout the process of writing, you are with the writer, but still it is the word coming out of when I write, the words which come, it is from my mouth.
Correct.
It's just the words which are typed. But if it has come from someone else, so I want to see how good a director I am if the material hasn't come from me.
Yes.
So that's the challenge that also I love to take. So it's worked out in both cases. So I'm happy about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And another, fascinating thing, because Ghanchakkar, I still believe, is a very underrated film. I know that it got those extreme reactions. It did decently, but not so well at the box office. But I think India's Most Wanted was a film that just went under the radar, right? And because I feel everybody can have their take to it. Kyun nahi chali, kaise nahi chali, every. What I feel is that that was probably a time के थोड़ा स्टार, नॉट स्टार पावर, लेकिन उस तरह से लोग देखते थे कि अगर कोई ऐसा फेस आ रहा है तो हमको शायद नहीं देखनी है. डू यू बिलीव दैट वाज द रीजन? बिकॉज अर्जुन वाज नॉट रियली हैविंग अ गुड टाइम एट द बॉक्स ऑफिस, and that dampened the hopes. That's nothing to do with Arjun. It's just one of those things that your approach to a film goes like that. Do you also feel that?
No, I don't feel like that. I am completely I want to put it out there that as a filmmaker, it is nothing to do with Arjun. I was the one who casted him, and we all believed that he was very suited for that role, and we did it. Film didn't work. That is completely on me as a writer director. It's completely on me.
Right.
It's not on him. It's I will not. I think that shouldn't be even discussed.
Right.
That's completely on me as a writer director. All the films that I have done, when it succeeds, and all the 4 has has done Ghanchakar to a certain level, a lot of credit goes to me.
Yeah.
So when a film like India's Most Wanted doesn't work, the failure is also on
Fair.
me. So it's completely on me. I would only like to say that we all did our best. I thought that I wrote and directed. I thought it was a story which was inspiring for me. I wanted to tell that story, told in the best possible way, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
So that happens.
Of course.
You know that happens, and I would have wanted it to work. It was demoralizing, but it has nothing to do with cast.
With the cast, right?
No, it has nothing to do with the cast. It's just that it didn't work.
Yeah.
And the blame, if one has to blame, I have to take the blame for that.
Of course, and success and failure is a constant in this
Yeah,
industry.
yeah,
There
yeah.
is no, you have to. You've been fortunate कि ज़्यादातर success मिला है, इसके लिए एक आधा failure ऐसा लगता है कि अरे बाप रे अभी इसमें क्या.
Yeah.
But no, I get that. Fair. And what another thing is about when No One Killed Jessica happened, and again, you know, as I mentioned, they kind of impacted, created. But tabhi it was the time that again you did something which nobody else was doing, casting female, female protagonist at the forefront, and two of the best actresses this country has ever seen.
Yeah.
Um, while you know, right now it's a very different conversation with female-oriented films. Now there is a burst
Yeah,
of thanks to people like Alia Bhatt and everyone.
yeah.
There is numbers also and everything. My question to you is कि जब आपने वो किया था, did you also see that outburst of sorts that after the film happened कि अभी ज़्यादातर female oriented subjects आपको बोलते थे कि यार अब तो ये चला है तो यही होना चाहिए या females के हिसाब से ही जाना चाहिए, or you always believe it's about the story?
No, it's a lot of. The thing is that one can't take away from the fact, and as you said, that film opened a lot of doors. A lot of films which were not releasing, female films which were made and was not releasing.
Yeah.
Released Kahani, a lot of
films,
lot of other films. So I think in that sense it really helped a lot of films, and it kind of also making a female oriented film came back. So people were saying, I was happy about the fact that a lot of filmmakers who wanted to make films with female oriented subjects, they got an opportunity to make those films. People were wanting me to do another film, but I always feel that that when a subject comes, then only I want to attempt that. It's not that if one of my film has worked, so I want to to make another female oriented film. That kind of that
Not for the
herd
sake of it.
mentality. I don't want to do it just for the sake of doing it. But if a subject comes like that, then for sure. But I was happy about the fact that others also got an opportunity, or others had the subject, but they were not getting
Right.
the finance. So
Correct.
maybe in some way, its own way, it helped.
Right. Fair. True. And now that you finally entered the big OTT revolution and you had Pill, which was a good show, it opened to good numbers as well as it got critical acclaim as well. You were venturing into something which was new for you, long format storytelling. आपने कभी नहीं किया था कोशिश. How did you find that space to be? Because I think a lot of filmmakers have had very different opinions on that. The ones I've had to talk with, they really obviously like it because it gives them a lot more liberty and everything, but they have their own negative take to it as well.
Yeah.
I'm interested to know how was your experience in that context.
I thought that of course, the OTT revolution has started 6-7 years back.
Yeah,
So
of course.
with by virtue of the films that I have done, I was one of their prime candidates to do long
Yes,
form.
I agree.
But at that time, two things happened that I was not getting a story that I wanted to tell. A lot of people were getting me shows which were foreign shows, which was they were making it remade it any way, and then I got busy with Raid and India's Most Wanted. But more so, I was not getting anything inspiring or anything that I thought I would add to. But when Pill came, it was something I thought this was a story that I wanted to tell. And this was something which would be interesting to see. Whether I would succeed or whether I'll be able to form a story around it or not is very difficult. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Uh, so that led to trying to see how this format works.
Yeah, correct.
And of course it has a different grammar. It 2 hour film has a different grammar. 2.5 hour film has a different grammar as. But this 6 hour, 7 hour has a very, very different grammar.
Right.
So it was lot of learning, unlearning process. Of course, this is also a process where, like when you are writing a script, you just go into your room and you are writing it. Here you have a bigger team.
Yes.
Here you have a platform.
Yeah.
So you are in constant touch with them. You are exchanging ideas. What is working? What is not working? So, in spite of having a singular kind of approach, still it is more collaborative. Still, so this was something where I was learning also, because 2 hour, even in a film where you are telling a 2 hour story, you every day you feel, अरे बाबा ये तो सीखा ही नहीं मैंने.
Exactly.
Every day you are learning.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
in this was a new format, and I thought it was a learning for me. And it was interesting. It was. I don't know whether I have done enough to have a take of what were the pros and cons of it. The more, of course, it takes time.
Yeah.
Of course, it is quite exhausting.
Exhausting. Yeah.
But that, I guess, exhausting is making a film also is exhausting. But I don't think I have enough experience in this to kind of weigh the pros and cons of it. For me, it was a learning process. For me, I was also trying to see how you kind of explore the idea, how you form a narrative, what is the pace of a narrative that you want.
Right.
In my case, in Pill case, it was a slow burn. In other cases, you are bang on to your story, but my story didn't demand that.
Right.
And that's how it was constructed. So it was still a learning for me.
Correct. True. And because I also ask about Pill specifically here is because I think medical thrillers in India it's still rare, right?
Yeah.
We've barely seen a couple of shows, maybe a film or in that context come out. What I always feel is that there is a certain preconceived notion by at least some filmmakers के यहाँ पे हमने को dumb down करना पड़ेगा to make sure the viewers understand the depth, understand the actuality of it. If we throw in too many medical jargons, so it might push them off. Do you believe that was essential, or do you believe that as long as, because see, we also have international content which doesn't really do that and it still connects.
Yeah.
So do you believe any of those things?
No, I don't. I don't. Simplification of some complex procedural part of it. Yes, maybe. But in terms of understanding of it, of content, no, I don't think so. I think now probably they are more smart than us.
Yeah.
In terms of terminology, also in terms of what they are watching, in terms of how the narrative will go forward.
Right.
I mean, sometimes they jump the gun and they probably kind of guess. So I don't think in terms of understanding, maybe in terms of procedural ways of how the industry works, maybe that you have to not dumb it down, but you have to maybe simplify it.
Fair. Yeah.
Maybe simplify it for them so that those medical term or jargon needs to be made understand to them. But in terms of storytelling, no.
Right. Correct. And Ray too, I know that you can't talk much about it and we're not going to ask you anything in that context. But also what's interesting is that for someone like you, जिसने अब तक सिर्फ original stories और एक fresh story so to speak की है, Now you're doing a sequel for the first time,
Yeah.
right? And we know that it's not going to be like a straight up सब कुछ उसमें से लेने वाला part, but you still have the same character and you have to play around with whatever you've played around with. My question to you is, for someone like you who's always worked with something fresh and new all the time, how much does that impact when you're writing and when you're making a sequel? Because I'm sure that probably has a different approach कि ये भी ध्यान रखना पड़ता है, इसमें ये हुआ था तो अपने को ये करना पड़ेगा. How was that for you?
For me, because it's a film that it's a sequel to my film only.
Yeah.
So for me, and it's carry forward of the character. So of course it will, what you are trying to ask is, I know where you are coming from.
Yeah.
So for me also, yeah, of course, it takes time.
Yes.
And you have to wait for the right story to come. It need not be that, once when we did Raid, it was not designed that it will have it will have a sequel. But if you get something, if you get an idea where you feel that this can be explored, and that's what happened with this, and it's an exploration process. We don't know whether it will work.
Yeah.
So it's also a trial and error kind of a thing. You have a thin idea line of a story, then you are trying to build around that story, and then ultimately when you are satisfied that okay, this is something that really works,
Yeah.
that's when you go ahead and do something about it. So
Right.
that's how it this sequel also happened. But of course, it's something which is an experience.
Right.
I mean, because when you make a film which doesn't have that legacy, it's you are coming
Absolutely on
out,
a clean slate.
yeah,
Yeah.
clean slate. There is there no route that 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 you know of.
Right.
But here you will, because it's a sequel, because it's a carry forward of a character. So still there are certain notion from an audience point of view.
Correct.
So let's see. We have tried to explore it. I hope it works out well for us.
I'm certain. Not that anybody's doubting that, but of course, because it's very interesting. Also, now I have to ask you probably the toughest question, and I know it's very unfair to ask that to a filmmaker because all films are your babies, right? You've given everything. But if there was one film that you feel stood out for you personally for X and Y reason, which one was that?
It's very difficult. I think you yourself answered your question. It's very difficult because it will be very. I can't. I mean, it's very tough.
Yeah.
So if I have to be, I mean, making your first film is always special. Because that is what launches you into.
Right. I agree.
So I am not favoring anything, but in terms of just that's what was your first film.
Yes,
so anything
yes.
first will always be special.
Always be special, yeah.
So I would say, just from the point of view, because it was my first film.
Right.
So I would say my first film was something which was, I'm not saying it's best.
No, of course not.
I'm just saying it has an emotion attached.
I agree. Yeah, I know. I had to put you on the spot because, again, Aamir for me is, I mean, not that it, sort of, comes together and says the same thing, but Aamir is what it was and it still is. It's probably aged really well as well. I'm sure you get it all the time. And on the same note, final question in this context, any film you feel that maybe I could have done differently? Not negatively, so to speak, but I think everybody has a
but that's true for all the films.
Okay.
Because I believe that retrospect, wisdom is something which you will only get then. And with all the films, when I see, I feel, oh my God, I could have done this better. Maybe probably this would have worked better. Maybe I could have made this shorter. Maybe so it happens all the time. Certain part of it, I won't say
the entire
everything,
thing,
but certain part of it. But it would be interesting to I mean, as an exercise to see what could have happened if one would have done it in a certain way.
Right.
So that would be closed door exercise.
I know. I'm sure. I'm certain about that. Super, fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.